Without further ado, this is going to be a point of emphasis for Fairfield County umpires. It's actually going to be a point of emphasis statewide. This is called the Strike Zone Initiative. And what the Strike Zone Initiative is that a lot of coaches are just asking for consistency in baseball games. And it's not necessarily consistency by the individual umpire, it's consistency by a board. So in other words, how many of you raise your hands if you made a call on a field and the coach comes out at you and says, the guy yesterday didn't do that, and you know you did the right call? Raise your hand if that's happened to you in the past. Okay, so what did the guy the day before do to you? So no, what did the guy the day before just do to you?
Made you look bad.
Yeah, threw you under the bus. Okay? So, not being that dramatic, the Strike Zone Initiative is something that we're going to do to try to come together as a board to increase our efficiency behind the plate. Okay? So what is it? Right now, Strike Zone is a statewide effort, and this is going to be a statewide effort, to provide a consistent strike zone for everybody on board right now. The second part of it is the target audience is going to be all Connecticut umpires, scholastic, non-scholastic, but mostly geared towards the scholastic side now because that's the first season we're coming up on. But it's going to be geared for all boards. And the last thing about it is, it's going to be the main point of emphasis for us this year. I'm going to run through this pretty quick. So what is it? It's a board-wide consistent strike zone. So in other words, if I work a game and I'm working the high side of the zone and Alex Rosso works the next game with the same team and he calls that same high side of the zone. There seems to be a misnomer by a lot of people in baseball that the high side of the zone is the belt because it's a huge landmark in a mask on an umpire. Okay? Instead of watching the ball, tracking the ball, and things like that, they said, okay, the ball goes over here and I'm going to call the ball. Why? Because I got this kid with an 1 3/4 belt sitting right here, and that's a good place for me to look for the rest of the day, middle of August. Okay? So we don't want to do that. We want to go ahead and get consistent in other ways. We want you to be individual, but we want you guys to get consistent in other ways. But this is the big thing. We're going to start to enforce the rule book strike zone. The rule book strike zone. There's nothing in the rule that says that the batting box line is the strike zone. It says in the rule that the ball must cross the plate. Nothing else says that. The ball must cross the plate, right? And it's a fair strike zone based on facts and data. And what's the facts and data that I may be talking about? What's the facts and data nationwide that I may be talking about? What do you think? What do you watch on TV every day when you watch a baseball game? Yeah, they got that freaking stupid strike zone there. Is that the real strike zone? Not by far. Not by far. But they do have Rapsodo, and I'm talking about something, they do have Chapman, they do have other things, and these things are so tight that they can actually do trigonometry and stuff like that, and that's basically how the computer does it. And what happened here is that they actually made pitchers go to work. Okay? They made pitchers go to work. All right? Now, this is going to be level baseball dependent. Guys, I don't expect you guys to do the strike zone initiative on a Babe Ruth game. Okay? Do I expect you to work hard on a Babe Ruth game? Sure. Do I expect you to be fair on a Babe Ruth game? Good. But if you work for Bob, or you work for Greg, or you work for anything like that on a Babe Ruth game, those assigners need to be able to tell you what kind of strike zone that they want. And that's the strike zone you're going to strive to get. Okay? So, we all going to be, now, if you're going to go work at Staples Trumbull game, oh hell yeah. Heck yes. Okay, you're going to do the strike zone initiative on that. Okay? The downside to high school baseball is that you're jumping levels. The upside to high school baseball is that some days you may be surprised. I worked a JV baseball game that had better pitchers than a Division III college that I worked. That's the truth. Okay? All right. A consistent strike zone and or the ABS system and adherent to it do not extend the time of the game whatsoever. So let's go ahead and get this right out of your head. In AAA baseball this year, they had the ABS system, and in AA baseball, they judge their umpires on Chapman, actually something that was called something else, okay? And what happened was these guys tightened up everything and forced the pitchers to tighten up. It didn't extend the game whatsoever. The game stayed the same as it is. Where can we influence the time of the game that a lot of our guys don't do? Where can we influence the time of us standing on a field that a lot of our guys don't do? Between innings, yeah, kick these kids out. Now, I will tell you that at the state level right now, they are considering, it's not going to happen this season, the next season, there is in the high school rule book pitch clock. There is in the high school rule book between innings, and they're thinking about bringing it into play. Okay, so there's other ways for us to speed up our game. Okay, why are we doing this? Raise your hand if you work AAU baseball. You all. Raise your hand if you work AAU baseball. Travel baseball, guys. Travel baseball. Okay, you all work travel baseball. Raise your hand if you work a big travel baseball tournament. Did you ever look behind you once in a while? You ever see one of these things behind you? What is this? That's Chapman. What's that?
Rapsada.
Soda. What's this? That's the coach pulling up your last series of strikes, asking in his head if you're screwing up or not, and then he puts that iPad down and comes out at you. Okay? He says, you're not consistent today, et cetera, et cetera. He's got a pitch. Okay? He's got a pitch. It's right there. It doesn't lie. It does not lie. So how do we take this? How do we take this? We take it as a training event. We take it as a learning event. Okay. Okay? Catchers influence catchers, but the catchers now are getting ridiculous. Catchers are moving their hands more often than ever. I don't care what level of baseball you're working, from high to low. They're squatting down, they're tripping over their feet because you cannot judge a pitch anymore by the receiving like we used to. Okay? And I'll talk a little bit more of that in a second. All right? We need to start watching the pitch through the zone. If you're not watching the pitch through the zone, you're not tracking. Now, from evaluations and watching games and stuff like that, when I see guys doing this a lot, it means we're not tracking. Okay? If you call a pitch a second after it's got into the glove, you're not tracking. If your mechanic is to say the word strike, then step up and make your call, which is inappropriate, it's not the mechanic we use, you're not tracking. The only way that you're going to learn how to track is to get inside and start doing your work. If your timing's fast, you're not tracking the pitch. This pitch is a ball. Okay? Many times in the past, we would call this a strike. You see the blue line? That's the edge of the plate. This is straight down right here. It's right before the blue line right there. And just notice the way the catcher is leaning on the inside. If you come to some of the cage work, we talk about that. We talk about catcher's influence and how actually catchers blow the pitch. So this catcher right here totally presented inappropriately right here. Okay? And that should have been called a ball. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. Right? All right. So here's the biggest thing. What we're going to do, and Bob Wills came up with this analogy. We used to call a strike zone from here to here with the screen being the plate, but the sides being the edges of our strike zone. Now what we're going to do is that screen being the plate and the strike zone right at the edge of the plate. But what we're doing, we're going up. We're going up and we're going down. Okay? That's our goal, start going up and start going down. And here's the thing. I'm talking to the assigners, and I'm talking to the scholastic assigners, and I'm talking to the non-scholastic assigners. Back your guys. You get phone calls, back your guys. Because what I want the guys to say, why are you calling that a high pitch? Because my boss wants it that way. Because my board wants it that way. If you work with an FCCABU hat on your head working a game, this is what we want you to do. Again, level dependent. Level dependent. All right? This is not a strike, guys. This is not a strike. That's not a strike. That's a half ball off. Okay? And how do you get that? How do you learn how to do that? You learn how to do that by training. Just can't get on baseball fields, guys, nowadays, for what we're being asked to do. All right? You got to start working on some things like that. It's not a strike. These are strikes. And why is that? Because we're tighting up side to side, but a portion of the ball has crossed the plate. It doesn't have to be the whole ball. It doesn't have to be a half of a ball. It could be, if you were to transect a baseball into little tiny pieces, like an avocado, a portion of that avocado could be over the plate, and it's a strike. But if none of that avocado is over the plate, it's not a strike. All right? It levels the playing field for the batters. You say, well, how are we going to work this on the pitcher, for the pitcher? Well, this is what we're going to start doing. And you can see the lines right here. We're going to demonstrate in a second that this is the top of the strike zone, the midpoint between the shoulders and the belt on up. But understand something, and I'll demonstrate in a second, there's another ball on top of that. Remember that. The ball is at the center of the strike zone. The center of the ball is not the strike zone. Any part of that ball is the strike zone. So you see Bryce Harper right here, he's going to turn around and start pitching at the umpire in a second. This is Joe West. And that's that. We're going to talk a little bit about what's a good landmark. Actually, Kris Engstrand here is going to talk a little bit about a high side would be a good landmark for you guys to work on, okay? Let's talk a little bit about the slot, all right? Many of us aren't in the slot. If you can't see that outside pitch, if you're not targeting down range to see that outside pitch, and if you're not close enough to that catcher, especially with no runners on, you're not in the slot. And if you're not in the slot, you're not going to see that outside zone. And more importantly, you're not going to see that outside zone to follow the ball. Okay? Or that slider that just picks up on the outside. You should be able to put a document on the ground in front of you in this particular area right here. In a second. In a particular area and be able to read it. And then you know you're in the slot. The second thing is that we're not getting close enough to the catchers. Okay? You cannot be in the slot and be back. It's actually more dangerous to be in the slot or not be in the slot and be further back. So look at this graphic I made up right now. That's the slot. This umpire can see clear to the other side. And a trick that Kris is going to talk about later on is maybe pick a landmark in the third circle and do something. Okay? All right, he sees clearly the other side, and especially with a left-handed batter. Many of us struggle with left-handed batters. The other part of it being in the slot is that I don't care if I see the release of the pitch. I really don't care if I see the release of the pitch. What I care about is seeing, our goal is seeing the pitch go through the zone. I don't care how the catcher catches it. We want to see the pitch go through the zone. It has to cross the plate. If you got a kid with a good sinker or a good changeup, that pitch may drop as soon as it exits past the plate. And now the catcher is catching it down below, but yeah, you did see it cross the zone within the confines of the plate and at the level of the hollow of the knee. That's a strike. Okay? Now here is where we get into the problem. A lot of guys stand really far back. And you can see, the closer you are to the plate, and if this catcher can move up a little bit, the closer you are to the plate, the narrower its kill zone is. The further you're back from the plate, the wider the kill zone and the chances of you hitting the lotto is going to happen. Because they can hit, that ball can go anywhere between that point. The cautionary area in that particular situation is right here. And that's the odd situation. Now this is cage work that we did. Got some great guys here. Now I'm above on a ladder and I'm looking down. This is Jimmy Lukey right here. Mike Parashino, first catcher in SCCAU. All right, so what I asked him was, where do you have that pitch? And I didn't tell him he was right or wrong. I just said, where'd you have it? Okay, knows Jimmy's timing. Jimmy went from a little fast that day, now he's slowing it because he's in the slot. He can see that pitch now, and because he can see that pitch, we want to process that pitch in our head and then make the call. And then he makes the right mechanic. He stands up, says strikes, and mechanic at the same time. Why does that happen? Because that slows him down even further. That slows him down. If you see the glove, comes into the glove, you say the word strike, then stand up and make your mechanic, you're going too fast. And the guys who do that, if they actually just shut up before they make their call, they would have the most perfect timing ever. Because then they're seeing it and they're going in their head, okay, that's a strike. They go up and make their call. In the same motion, in the same timing as they had before. Okay? Sorry. So this is the kind of thing we do at cage work. Okay? So this is going to be a work in progress. I don't expect you guys to do it this year. I expect a couple years worth of work to get this initiated. Okay? Again, 2-season goal, right? Here's the big thing. In anything we do as umpires, especially when it comes to training, you guys got to be willing to get out of your comfort zone. All right? Okay. We absolutely need to train, okay, because you're representing us, okay? The evaluation system is going to be in full place this year, and the guys are going to be looking for it. We're not going to tell you you're doing anything wrong. We're just going to ask you to go ahead and maybe what did you see, how did that help out, okay? And I'm asking the assigners, scholastic and non-scholastic, please be patient with this process. I'm not asking the world, and I understand you guys got to get games in, get them done, 5, 6, 7 games time at a time. But just be patient with us so we can work with this, okay? The philosophy of the training team is non-scholastic baseball is there to learn. So we work for the highest level of baseball, which we do in this county, which is the FCA. All right? Strike zone initiative. Knowing you can do your job equals confidence, equals postseason assignments, equals fun. And that's what we're all about right here. Can I have the 3 guys up here real quick? I got 5 minutes to demonstrate this. Chris, you want to talk about up and down? Sure. Do me a favor, step up target slot. Just have John be your guy.
Okay. So targeting, when Russ uses the term targeting, right? Every field you go to, whether it's a turf field or a dirt field or anything, right? There's a dirt circle, right? We all have a dirt circle. So what I use as my target spot is I want to focus my eyes on a point just out in front of the dirt circle. Whether it's right on the dirt circle, just past it, whatever, that's up to you. Because for years, right, for years we were taught, get down in your stance, look at the pitcher, right, focus on the pitcher, watch the release, watch the release, watch the release. So our eyes are really comfortable when we're looking straight ahead, right? They're really relaxed because that's where we were focusing, right, way out here. But as the pitch came, it got closer and closer and closer. Our eyes were working harder and harder and harder because that's not where our focus was. Our focus started out here. We tracked it all the way to here, and our muscles were working really, really hard. We want our muscles, our eye muscles, to be the most relaxed. The easiest place is right here, right? We want the money shot to be right here, so that's where we should start our focus. So you want to see the pitcher, but the pitcher should be almost blurry, right? So from a blurry point of view, you can still see balks, you can still see all that other bullshit. And you can't see the release. But what you really want is your eyes to be most relaxed when it crosses the plate. So before every pitch, and now you're going to have to get into a timing with this, with your pitcher and how fast they're working, and if they're working fast, God bless you, that means it's a good game, right? So you put your eyes right down there, like whether it's with that dirt circle, you know, that little metal spot, or somewhere where Russ is pointing, you know, 4, 5, 6 feet out, 7 feet out, 10 feet out, whatever you're looking at, you want your eyes there, and then as soon as you get there, then you lift them up to the pitcher. Never moving your head, never moving anything, because with tracking, if you've heard me talk, or Russ or anybody, tracking is all about eyes. Timing is all about your eyes. You have fast timing, slow timing. All they're talking about is the proper use of your eyes. If you track the pitch all the way to the plate, all the way to the glove, your timing, I promise you, will be perfect. If you're fast or you're slow, it's because you're not tracking the pitch with your eyes. It's literally that simple. So for targeting, you just go ahead and stance. that your target? So if he's targeted, right? I try to look down. Some people kind of look high. I look down. That's just me. I look dead down like this, and then I'll just bring my eyes up. Down, up, down, up, down, up. And when you get used to it, you'll just do it automatically. It'll become muscle memory. And it just makes it so much easier as the pitch is coming in. The high strike? All right, so the high strike has been, as Russ said, the biggest topic from 10U to high school to whatever level of baseball you work at, it doesn't matter. And that's 100% true. I worked, in the COVID year, I think I worked 5 national tournaments because that was the only thing playing in the summer. I was in Kansas City, Indianapolis, Atlanta, and every single field I went on, from 10U to 19U, had track. It's unbelievable. And they watched every pitch, and they gave you a report after every game at 15-year-olds. And what they found was people were afraid to call the high strike. Most of those pitchers were here. Because for years, everybody was taught this was the top of the zone. And why was that? Russ sort of explained it. But the main reason was for years, we umpired to the dugouts. So we wouldn't hear them pitch and moan, right? We umpired to the dugouts. Because they could see this on that angle. They can't see this. They have no idea really if it's in or out. So that's why the zone went from wide to now it's like this, because now they're all using the technology to look at your strike zone versus what they observe from a dugout. And that's at every, I mean, there's going to be at high schools. Obviously, you wouldn't be surprised if almost every FCI school had a track.
Alabama, every high school has to have track.
So that's why it's changing. So it's changing at every level through this initiative. We call it an initiative, and basically it's just enforcing what's in the rule book. We call it that because everything's on TV. I don't care what you think. Your 10-year game is going to be streamed somewhere. Somebody's got it, right? It's going to be there. So what do we use? How do we judge the top of the strike zone? It's the hardest part. For me personally, when I squat, I try to set my eyes at what I believe is the top of the zone. So my stance will go as far as what I think is the top. So I know if I got to lift my eyes up to see the ball, it's a ball. If I got to look down, I'm good. But what I use on the uniform as a landmarker, almost, not every uniform, has a number right there, right? Most of them, if it's anywhere in the number, it's a strike. If it's anywhere above the number, it's a ball. Right? So this, turn sideways, Jackson. That is a strike. That is a strike. Because the bottom of the ball is at the top of it. Now you're going to get a lot of shit for this one. So be careful about that one. But don't miss that one. You want games that aren't on pitch clocks or action clocks? Call the top of the zone and call the bottom of the zone. That is a strike. By rules. That is a strike. As the strike says, the hollow of the knee. This is the hollow of the knee. Right? And call it on the plate. What it is when the batter's way back here and you're watching the ball be down here. The strike zone's over here. And that's what they're called. That's what you're seeing on TV at every level. The strike zone here. Not what it is back here.
Understand something about the side to side. When we work this training, we ask the guy to make the call and then call the color. Right? And the only reason why we say that is that no, it was off the plate by half ball. It's yellow. It's not a strike. So they say, okay, then it literally happens the next pitch. The same pitch goes, because I can work that pitching machine, ask guys, I can work it really well. And then they call it a ball, and they said, yeah, it makes sense now. It makes sense. It doesn't take much. Guys, you can't go into the season cold. You can't work at scrimmage. Working the scrimmage is working coordination with your field partner. It's not working with balls and strikes. All right? We got Sundays. This Saturday, we have live batting. It's the first chance we have with a partnership with Technique Tigers. And it's going to work. Everybody's invited. Thank you.
Thank you.